Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murders of Nathaniel Ankar and Kaylin Warren, who were shot and killed in the Florence neighborhood of LA, and Stephen Johnson, who was shot and killed in Vermont Vista, according to LA County coroner records. Cedric Devontae Parker and DeAndre Bonner were subsequently arrested and charged with the murders. The following is the evidence at trial. Defendants were members of the Denver Lane Bloods. On January 17, 2016, defendant stole a vehicle from Edward at gunpoint. Approximately 35 minutes later, defendant used Edward's vehicle to perpetrate a drive-by shooting at several persons standing in front of a liquor store, wounding Elliot. The liquor store was in territory of the Hoover Criminals, a rival gang of the Denver Lane Bloods. At defendant's preliminary hearing, Edward testified that while he was fueling his white Volkswagen Beetle at a gas station, two men approached him. The man asked where he was from and stated they were Denver Lane Bloods. One of the men reached for Edward's necklace and Edward slapped the man's hand away. The man drew a gun and Edward fled. One or both of the men drove off in Edward's Volkswagen. According to the police report, Edward told police that one of the men had a cast on his arm, but Edward testified he didn't remember saying that. In addition to Edward's prior testimony, the prosecution presented surveillance video from the gas station at the time of the carjacking, which among other things showed the two perpetrators arriving in a black Volkswagen Beetle with one white fender and a missing gas cap. Cell phone location data placed defendants Parker's and Bonner's phones near the gas station around the time of the carjacking. A woman who was defendant Parker's girlfriend at the time of the carjacking testified that she had a black Volkswagen Beetle with a missing gas cap and one fender lighter than the rest of the car, and identified the car in the surveillance video as her Beetle. She testified that defendant Parker sometimes drove her car. She remembered that about 3 years earlier, defendant Parker had a cast on his hand. On February 21, 2016, defendant Bonner fired multiple shots from his vehicle at a vehicle occupied by victim Nathaniel Ankar and Letitia, killing Ankar. Letitia testified that around 9 p.m. on February 21, 2016, her fiancé, victim Ankar, was driving his Chevy Tahoe with Letitia in the passenger seat. While they were stopped at a traffic light, a car pulled up on the passenger side of the Tahoe. Letitia thought this was unusual because there was only one lane traveling in that direction, meaning the other car had to move up between the Tahoe and the curb. Letitia saw a person staring out the window of the car at them. She brought this to the victim's attention. The victim didn't say anything but reclined Letitia's seat back. When the light turned green, the victim started speeding down the street. Letitia heard gunshots and the Tahoe crashed. Letitia saw that the victim was bleeding from his forehead and was not responsive. A forensic pathologist testified that the victim died from a gunshot wound to his temple. Cell tower records indicated that defendant Bonner's cell phone was in the area of the shooting shortly before the shooting occurred. A firearms examiner testified that .380 caliber shell casings recovered from the scene had been fired from the same weapon as casings recovered from the shootings of Elliot and victim Johnson. On March 18, 2016, defendant Parker fired a gun from his vehicle, killing victim Kaylin Warren, who was riding past on a mini bike. At about 2:30 p.m., victim Warren was riding a mini bike west on 76th Street when a person inside a light-colored sedan shot at him multiple times. The victim, who was wounded, crashed the bike and fell to the sidewalk. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead at 2:55 p.m. On March 21, 2016, at around 11:20 p.m., defendant shot and killed victim Stephen Johnson. The victim was affiliated with the Hoover Criminals, and the area in which he was killed was claimed by that gang. At about 11:20 p.m., victim Johnson was standing in the area when two people walked up and fired multiple shots in his direction. The victim was struck and fell to the sidewalk, while the gunman got into a light-colored SUV and drove east on 88th Street. Detective Meckrick opined that defendant Bonner was a member of Denver Lane Bloods based on his tattoos, Facebook posts and messages with gang jargon, photographs and videos of Bonner displaying gang signs, and Bonner's association with other gang members, and recorded calls to which Meckrick had listened in. Meckrick similarly opined that defendant Parker was an active member of the Denver Lane Bloods based on defendant Bonner's Facebook postings referring to Parker, the photographs and videos, and Parker's association with other gang members, and recorded calls to which Meckrick had listened. Following the trial, the jury found defendants guilty on all charges and found all special circumstances as to the murder counts true. The court imposed 2 sentences of life without the possibility of parole on Parker, as well as a total of 219 years and 8 months to life. The court imposed 2 sentences of life without the possibility of parole on Bonner, as well as a total of 256 years and 8 months to life. Nathaniel Joseph Ankar was 40 years old at the time of death. Kalen Justin Warren was 21 years old at the time of death. Stephen Holt Johnson Jr. was 26 years old at the time of death.